What's up, YouTube? Uni here to bring you another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and today I want to talk about a problem that I solved for me. There are tons of guides out there on speed, but there is just so much out there in terms of, hey, you could make 86 go first, you can make 86 go last, you always put, HK first. It just there was too much out in the open. I didn't understand the pros and cons of each, so I spent a lot of time researching that. I spent a lot of time getting my droids to the perfect speed, and then I changed it because I learned something that no one told me. So I want to give you guys all the information you need to know about modding, particularly when it comes to speed for droids. I'm going to touch on everything when it comes to modding droids. This is your droid mod guide. But I really want to focus on speed because that's the part that there are some very particular scientific known facts of absolute opportune best ways to mod them, and no one goes over them, and people weren't explaining the pros and cons as to 86 HK 88 order. That I feel like I want to share that with you, at least from my experience. Hopefully I capture everything, but I'm doing the best that I can. So first and foremost, everything is going to revolve around this little guy right here, Mr. Jawa Engineer. Your goal is to get him to 240. He is going to be the cornerstone for how you calculate your speeds for everyone else. So first and foremost, I'm going to say I don't care what mods you put on there. You can get potency. You can get tenacity. I mean, potency is probably the most important because his thermal detonators are actually impacted by potency. But honestly, beyond all that, don't ever do anything to him except give him the fastest mods you can. It is absolutely critical. That is the most important thing about Jawa Engineers, getting him to go as fast as you can. So when it comes to people talking about recalibrate, there's two pieces of advice. One is to omega this, one is not to. I'm gonna break it down for you. I think you should never recalibrate. You should never omega recalibrate because you can't go back. The story is the difference is recalibrate gives you an extra 5% turn meter gain, so an extra 5% of the turn meter, and we'll go over that. I've got some very scientific, all right, let me back that up. I've got some concrete numbers for you of how I think is best to mod, but I'm going to say absolutely never mod this because you can't go back once you do it. If you were 100% sure that for the rest of your SWGoH career you would never use droids, and that really they're just kind of like a one and done thing for you for the AAT raid, and you're never going to use them in tournaments, you could do recalibrate because what it's going to allow you to do is have a bigger difference in how fast your JE is versus your droids. But I'll say for arena, and if you plan on using a droid user, you want your droids going as fast as possible. Even with JE and stuff like that, you want your droids going faster so that way they get out of stuns faster if they do get stunned. So that after the opening salvo, if you can survive another 2-3 turns. I mean, it's hard. Droids are pretty weak, but if you can survive another 2 rounds, a faster droid's going to potentially get you to get that one extra hit off. So the way you do that is by actually not omega the recalibrate, because when you omega that actually will reduce the amount of total speed you can put on your droids. So first and foremost, know that if you want max speed droids, do not omega this. Okay. Next thing is you want to come down here to speed. You want to aim probably for like a 240. I hate farming for mods. I just did a week of farming mods. I got no potency, no critical damage, nothing for speed. A week. So I get it. Farming for mods is hard. But that's what's going to separate you from being top 20 and top 200. It really is. So at least right now with this speed meta, who knows what's going to happen right now. But that's just how critical speed is. And you need that JE going at least 240 because he's got to just smoke everyone else on the board. And basically the fastest his speed is, once you're happy with his max speed, that's what you want to start basing your calculations on. Okay? So I did just do some remods. Usually he's like 202. I got him up here to 214 for some arena/tourney work here, but we'll flip him back to 202 and do our calculator too. I'll just do that real quick. Okay, we're back. So I flipped his speed back to being slower. Oh, I have it at 205. Back to what it usually is at 205. Just because I think that's what I have plugged into my calculator when we get to that. But get him to the fastest speed possible. And I screwed up because what happened was when I calculated this originally, I was planning on doing a recalibrate. So first and foremost, I mean, honestly, that's what it comes to when it comes to modding Jawa Engineer. If you could get critical damage here, more power to you. If you could get potency here, more power to you. And same thing with protection here. But do not ever do those at the cost of speed. Honestly, just put your fastest speed, secondary, primary speeds on here. What I have 7 for this one. I've got an 8 speed for that one. So just get your fastest speed mods, and that is the answer to Jawa Engineer. And don't ever Omega his recalibrate, in my opinion, just because you can't go back. Okay, so once you know his speed, that's when you're going to want to start to calculate HK speed. Okay, so HK speed is going to be basically a multiplier off of that. I've got mine set at 137. Okay, so why do I have it set at 137, and how do you figure out what your max speed is? So out here on our spreadsheet, and there's tons of speed calculators out there. I created this because it made sense to me. And also I wanted to put some opponent speed in here too, just to see what would happen in terms of who goes first. Because there is some weird calculations here, but the cornerstone of this is JE, okay? So first of all, enter your JE speed here, which for me it was 205, okay, after I slowed him down. So we talked about the recalibrate, okay? And here's where recalibrate comes into play with the max JE cap, okay? So here this calculation, you see it's C10, which is our Jawa speed right here, is in C10. Oh, let me explain this real quick. So this is the base speed. The unique for Java is he gets a plus 10 speed for every droid or Jawa ally, including himself. So since we're running a full droid and Jawa team, he's going to get a plus 50. So when the game calculates his speed, it calculates it as 255. And a long time ago, some members of Team Instinct calculated or figured out that the turn meter was out of 1,000. I don't know if it's still that or not, but it doesn't matter. It's just going to change the multiplier. But proportionate, it's still going to remain true for what these speed calculations are. So for the purpose of this, I used 1,000 because that's what it used to be. And whether it's 1,000 or 2,000, it'll still come out to be the same in terms of speed differences, roughly. A few rounding errors here and there, I'm sure. But so the game's going to use 255. To calculate it. So if everybody's racing to 1,000, it'll be just under 4 full cycles before JE gets to go, which is just under 3. But before we get to that, we need to calculate what we're going to call the JE speed cap. Okay, so with a speed of 255, okay, what you'll see here is I took C10, okay, the unique plus the base speed, and you multiply that by 1 minus basically recalibrate. Okay. So for this first one, we have the 40% recalibrate if it's not omega'd. You saw if you omega'd it, it added 5% to do the 4.5. What this means is any unit over this speed, 153 or 140, is going to be completely random as to who goes first. Okay, so if HK were 153, he's going to go first. If 88 were 152, he'd go second most of the time. There's a weird random like where it's in 1 and 2. It'll sometimes flip them. I don't know why. Ask CG. Their coding is a little strange, I guess. But let's say it were 153 and 150. HK would basically always go first, unless something were to be really strange, where like maybe Han were to go first and then he strips some turn meter. But in the grand scheme of thing, if you modded JE correctly and you went out and you did your work for mods, unlike me, and got your JE super fast, the max speed you could make any droid go would be 153, and after that it's just going to be random where they go. So what you want is HK needs to be at or just around that max cap, because what's going to happen is if there's a space in between, so since my HK is 137 and there's a max cap of 153, technically if their Han is fast enough, which is actually could potentially be a problem, particularly if that were a Biggs that were going at the same speed. So the less of a difference you have between your cap and your HK, the less likely the opponent's going to interrupt you. And you don't want that for your opening salvo for droids. You have to go first as a droid user. So first, get your JE so that it's impossible to beat him. Then 2, get your HK basically at your cap. So if you're lucky enough not to have omega'd your recalibrate, you could be going faster, 153 as opposed to 140, right? And that's going to be beneficial when you got to get out of stuns and stuff like that. So first, get your HK to the cap of 153. Okay. Next, what you want to do is put your 88 just a tad slower. Okay. I do have 1 speed lower. You could go 2 or 3 just to avoid that weird randomness of it. But the reason why is that when 88 does his AoE, he actually will do more damage when an enemy's debuffed. So HK goes, he puts debuffs on the guys, and you're going to want to and we'll go over each of these guys with more detail. Let's just focus on speed for right now. HK is going to put down debuffs. 88 is going to go in AoE, and then he's going to do more damage because of these debuffs. Okay, and then what I recommend, and then I'll give you the reasons here in a second, is that 86 goes last. You can have him go first, you can have him go last, and there's two very different use cases for those that we're going to go over, but I'm going to recommend that you go over last just because we'll get into it. Okay, so in terms of speed, you want HK at your cap, and you can change this to whatever you want. So let's say you did your work and you got your JE up to 240, like a good little farmer on mods. You could get your HK all the way up to 174, which is really fast for a droid, because don't forget that they're going to be getting 50% turn meter every time they crit. Okay, so get your HK up to the cap. Use this calculator to figure out what your speed cap is basically 1 minus recalibrate times the unique speed, which is the base speed plus the 50 if you have the full squad. And then get your 88 just to go a couple slower. And then 86, I'm going to recommend you go third, and here's why. So for how to mod 86, there are two ways to do it. I'm going to recommend that you have him go last out of the trio. Some people have him go first. And a lot just depends on the situation, but in today's meta, I think him going last, it's a risk, but I think it's an appropriate risk. So the reason why you would have him go first before, so first let's talk about, just to make sure we're all on the same page, that the leader ability, you get 50% turn meter on a crit. So droids are going basically twice as fast as you think they are, particularly in the beginning, and then they're just really slow, but HK keeps them going for a little bit. But if you miss that crit, you're going to see how slow your droids are. They're super slow, especially when they're going up against, those rays that are, gosh, I think there's a guy in my shard that has this ray at, like, is it 260? It's crazy how fast she goes. And then there's not much you could do about that. So if you miss your crit, you're going to look real slow compared to those fast units. So first, you want to make sure that you're always critting, but you'll see that you'll also get an extra 30% crit chance just with his HK's leadership. Basically, the rule is for this trio here with 86, HK, and 88, you want to generally put crit chance and crit damage on each one of these guys. The exception being HK, you can put health on him. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think he's got so much health and protection anyways, it's probably worth just going the full crit chance, full crit damage mods for them. So first and foremost, understand that. The reason why let's start with the reason why you'd have 86 go last, okay? So what's going to happen is 86, well, let's go over their mods as we do this too. So you're going to want a crit damage mod right here. And you're going to want a potency mod here in the lower right. You're going to want a speed mod here in the upper right. And then these have to be, this is going to be protection. And then these are going to be offensive defense always. And of course you're going to want to stack speed on them too. You'll see a Deegan here went with all crit chance. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, HK, you can kind of get away with some other things, but he's the one that you could put crit chance health mods on or crit hit chance crit damage. It's just a matter of what you want. So with him, what's going to happen is you're going to throw out your Meatbag Mayhem, okay? And that's going to be an AoE, and you're probably almost always going to get at least two crits on that from an enemy of 5/5 squad. So he's going to go again. He's going to attack, and what's going to happen is when he shoots, he's going to probably crit, and he's going to have 50% turn meter after that. Okay. Then what's going to happen is if you've modded correctly, then you're going to have 88 go second. Right? So his speed should just be slightly slower, and it should only be slower by like 1 or 2, just to make sure that you don't have any interrupts from the opponent if you've modded your speed correctly per the spreadsheet in the cap. Okay, you're gonna on the triangle, you're gonna want crit damage, and you're on this plus, you're gonna want a potency, and in the upper right, you're gonna want speed. But you're gonna have to make sure that overall his speed is just, like I said, just 1 or 2 or 3 at the most slower than HK. You'll see what a Deegan did do it correctly here, where he's got 2 crit chance and then 4 crit damage. Because what's going to happen is with that crit damage triangle plus the crit damage on the set, you can get up to 60%, I think it is, total extra. But that 210% crit damage is really critical, because 88 and 86 have to be your death squads. And if they're not doing their job of the death squads, you don't have it modded correctly. So if you have anything besides crit damage and crit damage sets on there, you're not modded correctly. Go back, get your Jawas, and just start farming, because you have to have those to really be competitive in this market, honestly, because droids have to kill right away or you're going to fail, and that's just how it is. So anyways, what's going to happen is HK, as we said, he's got his 50% turn meter, right? Up comes 88. He's going to do his rapid fire, right? So he's going to do an AoE against people, put defense down, and when you get a defense down on Rey or Darth Maul, that is just delicious because you just erase them from the board. And what we were talking about earlier, the reason why you have HK all potencied up is right here. So 88 has a plus 45% critical damage. 45% more damage. That is huge. So if you messed up your speed, if 88 goes first, you're missing out on that additional 20% more damage to a unit. That is critical for the opening salvo, where you really have to win the opening salvo as a droid user, otherwise you're just done. So that's why HK has got to be potencied out the wazoo, and he's got to be just slightly faster than 88, because really what HK is there to do is just to get everyone going with that leader ability, and just to cause tons of status defects because of this right here, where it's going to cause 88 just to be a monster with his opening salvo. So that's why 88's got to go basically right after. So what's going to happen is 88's going to go a second time now. So HK went twice. He's going to, now 88's turn, he's going to do his AoE. He's going to get at least 2 crits because you put crit chance and crit damage on here. And then he's going to go again. So he'll do his basic, and his basic will do like 20k, 25k, depending on how you have him modded. So he'll just do massive damage. So going back to a very specific scenario, if you're going against Rey or like a Darth Maul or even a Qui-Gon Jinn, and they get the defense down, and you do your AoE, so it's going to cause massive damage to them, and then you do the basic, you're probably going to actually just kill them. It'll just wipe them off the board, and it won't even be a problem. But let's say HK missed with his potency, and let's say 88 didn't get his defense down. You hit Rey, and she's generally just right above her half health. Darth Maul will go underneath. He has like no health. But Rey, Qui-Gon Jinn, I'm trying to think who else I usually target. The high priority targets, they generally are just right above halfway health with how much damage 88 does at full gear here with gear 11, and then what? Right, so you've done your full AoE, you've done your basic, and they're just above half. Well, that's critical, particularly for Empire teams, like when EP is running lead, and he'll typically have a Royal Guard with him. If you just did another attack and didn't kill that unit off, well, then Royal Guard's going to taunt, and it's a horrible experience. And we're going to come back to that moment with why you'd have 86 go first. But the reason why I put 86 last is that moment right there. So he's just above half health, or his protection's gone. You bring in 86 for the assist, and you do the assist just in case. Usually his basic's enough to kill, but I do the assist just in case that he calls in 88. Because and this is why you'd have 86 go last, in my opinion, is that there's a 50% chance that he's going to call HK or 88. Okay, so let's say, Rey's just above half health. You have him do the assist, okay, and it brings him down to either, usually just above where Rey dies, or he'll kill him off. Well, let's say he does it to just above Rey dies. Well, what happens is then 88 or HK comes in and finishes off Rey, okay, and then 88 or HK are going to go a third time, because what happens is they already had 50% health. When they get called in for the assist, well, then they get another 50% turn meter when they crit. So literally 88 will go 3 times potentially, or HK will go 3 times before the enemy has even done anything. It's like I said, it's 50-50 chance, but it's that ability to wipe people out while kind of circumventing the Royal Guard problem. Which isn't even really too much of a problem. He's not too bad anymore. But that's why you would basically bring that. And you could do that against some beefier characters too if you get defense down. Like you could do that to Lumi. If someone's running Lumi, not many people run her anymore. But you get what I'm saying, is those medium health characters, that strategy will work too. The reason why people used to always put 86 first, and it's still totally viable, is let's flip that around. So what's going to happen is 86 is going to go first, and he's going to cause, let's pick the Rey situation again. And what's going to happen here is he's basically going to take away most of Rey's protection. And then what happens is HK is going to go. Then HK is going to attack and bring like usually like the AoE will bring like Rey to right above half health. HK will attack, but he won't be able to kill Rey, right? He'll bring her to the yellow zone, and she'll be on the brink of death, but not yet. Well, now 88's going third in this scenario. And what happens is 88 does his AoE, and that'll actually kill Rey off. Royal Guard will activate or whatever. It doesn't matter. The AoE will kill her off, and then you could use the basic attack on HK to them to go. But the problem is that when you have 86 going first, if he calls in 88 or HK, they don't get additional turn meter. They're already at max turn meter roughly because of the JE recalibrate. So it's wasted turn meter and wasted damage that you could have been putting in towards someone. And also in the case with Royal Guard taunts when HK puts the DPS unit under 50%, and now you got to deal with Royal Guard. So you're gonna do a basic wasted attack on Royal Guard. Then you got a detaunt, and then you can start attacking maybe the second or third biggest threat. So that's why 86 still works, but in the case of Royal Guard, you waste that attack and you waste that turn meter up front. That I don't particularly care for it. What it is useful for is that when you have several DPS units that are weaker enough that you could actually put several people under yellow with the HK and with the basic, and then when 88 comes out, the AoE will actually wipe out several of them. But to me, I think it's more valuable to put 86 last for that 50% chance of additional turn meter and a third attack. So if that made sense, basically there was a Royal Guard situation or taunt situation if they interrupt, the 86 or 88 with his AoE could get past that in the situation versus if you had 86 going last and the taunt interrupted, well then all you could do is do an assist against Royal Guard. So it's a very, very unique situation, and when you're going against your shard, you'll learn which characters you can take out based on their health and how much damage your droids do. But that's why I would always recommend putting 86 last. This is that chance to go a third time, because when you call in 88, it's just devastating. So that is basically, and in terms of 88's mods, we'll look at mine real quick. I have defense down here, which is not the best, but you can actually, it's really rare, but you can get an offense mod here. Tenacity is reasonable as well, but offense is obviously the best selection if you could get them, even though it's rare. But this, just like we said with 88, that triangle, it's got to be critical damage, or you're missing out. I have critical damage set on here, and then health. I need to go get the critical chance on here, but the nice thing about him is that this is unique, is he gets a little extra boost in critical chance here with this unique. Oops, and I almost forgot, we have to cover B2, the fifth member of the squad. You can't forget him. So when you get him, you can put him in as early as probably 4 or 5 stars, and he's going to do the job that you honestly need him to do. So much of what B2's job is this mow down, which is basically a way of debuffing everyone, removing the taunts, so that way your kill squad, the droids, can focus on killing the big hitters. You don't want to attack the tanks. You want to be attacking those, either the Qui-Gon Jinns, the Wedge Antilles, Leia, I guess Darth Maul if you ever run into a Darth Maul. But the big hitting units, that's who you need to be taking out first with your droids. And B2 is what allows you to do that. And same on defense too. He's actually really, really good on defense, and can actually scare off teams that typically rely on a taunt to soak up damage while you while you go to work with your droids. So B2 is critical, and you can put them in sooner than later. And to that point, focus on your other mods first. Like, B2 is the last one in terms of priority for mods, right? Number 1, like we covered, was JE, and then 2 and 3 would probably be 88, 86, then HK, and then last place would be B2. You do want to get to him eventually, but you'll find that you'll probably be Gear 9, Gear 10 before you really worry about it, because Gear 9 and Gear 10 is when he starts putting out some serious damage, and at that time you've probably Omega'd his abilities. Once you Omega this, while it says 3 turn cooldown, it's faster because he does the mow down. He's going to get 100% turn meter from getting 2 crits, and then he's going to go again. So it's really just kind of like a two turn cooldown essentially. With once you get that Omega and you're running an HK lead. The other thing you want to do is you want to Omega, of course, his Relentless Barrage, because 40%, while it doesn't seem like that much of a bigger deal than 35%, it really is. So definitely Omega those two as a priority. But when it comes to mods, honestly, the 3 mods that are most important are this upper right one. That really should be accuracy, because what he is he's kind of an anti Obi-Wan, I guess Luminara, an anti-evasion lead. And by putting accuracy on him, it's more likely that when you deal his main attack, you see that he does evasion down for 2 turns. You want that landing, right? And if you're going against an Obi-Wan lead and you've got these units that are dodging, accuracy helps combat that, where you're going to land evasion down, and then all of your units have a better chance of actually landing their hits. So B2 is so awesome for dispelling taunts, and then second, for just eliminating evasion, because not only is he going to have higher accuracy and put evasion down with his primary, not only if you get hit, but then if your allies get evaded, there's a chance that he's going to go and put that evasion down on that unit, so that you can definitely make sure that your damage is hitting the unit. So what I do is I go through my barrage of HK 88, 86, and usually they take out the main damage dealer. It's usually a 5v4. And then what happens is I'll use B2 to go ahead and it depends on who it is. If it's like a rebel team, I don't do the mow down until Han goes. But if it's like a Royal Guard or something like that, I'll go ahead and mow down, because it'll be up by the time that I kind of trigger that again. But what I'll do is I'll do the mow down for most teams, and then I'll take the heavy arms and hit the second highest unit that I definitely want to start hitting, so that way they can't, it reduces the chances that they evade. So his mow down into a heavy arms is just awesome for evasion teams. It just really, really neuters, honestly, a lot of what troubles you'd be facing with Obi-Wan, or even Tebow. Tebow is not scary, but it can catch you, right? I mean, I don't care how good you are, RNG will kill you sometimes, just because the units you need to be killing go out of stealth and stuff. Well, B2 solves that, where not only does he take away their stealth, because that's a status effect, but then he puts potentially this into buff immunity above their head, and then they can't go stealth anymore, to ensure that you're killing the ones that you need to be killing. So that's really, really critical. So all that, make sure accuracy is there. Speed is not important, because you're going to get your speed from this, from either being evaded or from being attacked. The next most important one is the lower right is potency. He will get scanners, so he's going to have tons of potency, but you want to jack up the potency so that the evasion down lands, and also this buff immunity lands. It only lands, or even attempt to do it 65% of that time. The higher your potency, the higher you'll be to actually, hitting that 65% as opposed to not. In the lower left, put some protection. He's going to need some protection. He's a tank. He's going to take some hits. So definitely load him up with that. The triangle, you could do critical chance, or you could do critical damage. If you're going to go with mod sets, you can either do critical damage with potency, you can do critical damage with critical chance. It's up to you. He's a pretty flexible guy, kind of like HK, and you could put critical chance here if you want to hit those crits. But sometimes you could also put critical damage. He's not a hard hitter, but once you get him up to gear 10, gear 11, and you start putting critical damage and a critical damage here, he hits pretty decent, and he hits a lot with that Relentless Barrage unique, that it's not a horrible idea. So definitely check that out, find out what works for you. But honestly, the damage isn't really relevant, I feel like, till gear 9, gear 10. So yeah, so that's definitely B2. It's really a focus on accuracy in that upper right, and then potency, because right here we have potency of 65. If you could get that to 75-80%, that'd be perfect for him. So but don't worry about speed secondaries. You really need to put in all those on JE and the other droids. He's going to get his speed from this Relentless Barrage. So that's B2. So hopefully that explains how you mod these things and why you mod them a certain way. You can go out to that spreadsheet. Hopefully that spreadsheet makes sense. You're welcome to play with it, copy it, use it locally, put in your speeds, put in the rebel speeds, and you'll see who's going to be going first. So hopefully that helps, guys. I put these out for you guys. I like to share information. If you find out something, or you want to point out a clarification or something that I might have missed, leave it down in the comments below. I read the comments, and I'd love to find out how I can improve my game, just because I think that we get stronger together. So good luck with everything, guys. Hit a like button if you appreciate the information in this video. It really helps out. So Una out.